Hey, Chanel here with another Sew Bit. So today we're going to talk about needles. Sewing needles. So there are two types. Hand needles, and those look like that with the thread that hangs off. These come in all different kind of sizes. So if you've ever been to the fabric store, you go to the needle department, and the hand needles are usually separate than the machine needles. There are tons of types of these. I tend to like the longer ones. They're easier to handle with the bigger eye. That's the goal. And thin, so they go through really easy and sharp. I like the embroidery ones the best. I think those tend to work the best. What I really want to talk about is the machine needles, and those look like, there's the package of these. I like the Singer brand, and the reason I like them is because they color code them. And they actually, on the back, little tiny writing, they give you the color codes on there. So they have, and I've been sewing forever with the Singer brand, so I tend to know them pretty well. I know I got the green ones, which are for size 9 for really thin fabrics, like chiffons. It goes through this really well. If you try to put a thicker needle through here, like a 16 or something, you'll have big holes, and it'll snag it. So definitely 9 on chiffons and thin fabrics like organzas and voiles and those kind of fabrics. Then we have blue. No, wait. Then we have orange. This is probably my favorite needle of all time. I like the knits. It says size 11. These are size 11s for knits. Those go through everything except denim, although sometimes I'll force it. Those are for, let's see, I use them on thin broadcloths, like broadcloths. I'll use them on, like this is a pretty thin fabric with some metallic in it. That's a thin cottony thing. These are Georgettes, like this. I might even use a 9 on this one. This fabric, which I just worked with on one of my evening gowns, is a metallic thread, half metallic, half like black. This snags so fast because the metallic thread tends to break if it gets hit the wrong way. So definitely a 9 on those. Although I think I was sewing 11 on here, but I should have been using a 9. Let's see, 11s again. This is like a slinky fabric, an 11 on that one. Your machine, brand new machines usually come with 14s, and those are, I used to use 14s all the time, but then I started working more with thinner fabrics, and I just tend to like the 11s a lot. But they're definitely for, you know, thinner fabrics. So the blues are 14s, like that. And by the way, the red means for woven fabrics, I believe. They're actually changing them up now. The yellow ones, I don't have any here, and I usually have them all the time. The yellow, yeah, you'll see a yellow one here. These are the ball points. They're for knits. And like this actually, these are the old needles. The packaging, for some reason I liked them better. I just kind of saw it better. It says size 14, there's the blue, and yellow for the ball point, which are the knits. And so we love, in my school, love the ball point size 11s, which are the oranges, because they just tend to go through a lot of the fabrics we use here. Just we make simple skirts and things in our beginner class, and that's our favorite. The size 16 is the purple, and those are for heavier fabrics like denims. Got some denims, canvas types. I actually have, so actually this looks like a denim. I mean, well, actually it is a denim, but it's thinner, and but it's kind of thinner. I would use a 14 on here. It's not heavy enough for the 16. So also, now the proper needle size is really important because it'll really help your projects. Like the threads not going, you know, the needle not going through really well, making noise, and it's like bump, bump, bump. That means it's trying to get through the fabric, and it should just, you shouldn't be hearing it trying to go through the fabric. Also these, if you're hitting pins, they can chip pretty easily, and then you're using a needle that's snagging every time it goes through a fabric. So needles are really important, so don't take them lightly. I found this at the local Joann's, and it really gave some great information on needles. It talks about leather needles, which if you're working with leather or ultra suede, that will just make everything so much easier. They're beveled a certain way, what their shape is, and it just goes through the leather really well. Then there's, they have one for denim jeans, a hem stitch wing. I have a student using that right now, and I've never used it. Something that has to do with stitching heirloom kind of things and pulling the fabric apart, kind of strange. Machine embroidery, I don't do that either, but I know there's all those machine embroidery machines around. They have a special needle. Their needles are pretty important, and you want to change them out. They say every project, it depends on how long your project is, but a nice fresh sharp needle really helps your project. Also, did you know on the end of the tomatoes they have these little strawberries, and nobody knows what they're for. They're never written on the directions, but they are actually for cleaning a needle. So there's an emery powder in here, and it actually can clean and sharpen the needles right here. So, and why would you need it? Probably sometimes you're working with Velcro, or there's some kind of sticky stuff's going through there, or that little hem tape it can get on there. It really helps it. But you can also do the machine needles where you just take them out and clean it off. And actually, it's so easy to take the needles out. You just unscrew it and pop it out. And you have to really make sure they go in the right way, because I don't know if you can see it, but there's a flat side to the needles, and then it goes like around, so it's not completely around. And I had a student here the other day, and her machine wasn't sounding right, and the needle was in wrong. She had the flat part to the front when it's supposed to go to the back, and I just changed it, and then it works. You didn't hear that bad noise anymore. So really, and also make sure it goes all the way up into the machine part, and then you tighten it. You can also use a bobbin edge, like the metal bobbins, to tighten and unscrew that little part that gets the needles out, because it's just a real tight screw. It should be in there pretty tight, but because I think about it, if it wasn't, it would kind of break as you're sewing along. And don't sew over pins. It really messes up your needles. Once in a while, I know when I'm doing ruffles or something like that, I'll sew over them, but I'm pretty careful with it. So that's a little bit about needles. Don't take them lightly. They really can help your projects sew better and not mess up and not cause big holes and snags in your fabric. So pay attention to the sewing machine needles.